Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Raheel Show podcast. It's a wild card Friday, and the wild card that I drew today is COVID-19. I don't know if you guys have heard about it or not, but I'm going to have two guests on today. A friend, a digital friend, longtime friend, Texas State Rep Armando Walle is going to join me here in a second. And then about 35 minutes into the podcast, Kru Bob, one of my oldest friends in MMA, he's going to join me to talk about what it was like cornering a UFC event with all of the current pandemic restrictions. So we'll talk to him about that. But first, let me tell you about the new Spicy Boy Summer t-shirts. They are available, everyone. teespring.com/Raheel Show, or just check in the bio of this episode. T-shirts are available right now. You got your tank tops, you've got your normal t-shirts, premium quality. I also got the old school cotton t-shirts for all my big boys out there. I know they don't want to be in that modern fit, so I got you guys on the old school cotton t-shirts as well. They are available right now. Use promo code FLASH until May 17th. You get 10% off. Promo code FLASH for 10% off. That will basically take care of tax for you. I'm working with Teespring. They are a great company. I try to price them as affordable as possible, and all the proceeds will help with the podcast and adding new equipment and all that good stuff. So thank you for supporting. All right, let's get into this. Man, first time on the show, somebody that I admire from afar for everything you've done. You and I follow each other on Twitter. Let's welcome in Texas State Representative Armando Walle. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How about you, Raheel? Glad to be on your platform this afternoon.
Dude, I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. You know, things have changed a lot in my world, in so many people's worlds, man. And for those of you that don't know, Representative Walle, he is not only serving, and also you are practicing law still, right? You were doing your day job as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wear multiple hats. I'm a member of the Texas Legislature. That's considered a part-time job, but also have my. I mean, that only pays me $600 a month. And then during the session, just civics lesson during the session where the legislature meets every odd number year for 140 days, we get I think $190 per diem. So it's not a lot of money. So I'm not independently wealthy, so I have to hustle other means, and went to law school later in life, and so I'm here at my law office, still have to earn a living. Got two kids and a wife at home. So so I'm at my law office right now, but also took on the job that Judge Lina Hidalgo appointed me to as Relief and Recovery Czar. And it's been a huge task, but something that I think we'll be proud with when all this is over, we hope. And we can't predict when, but a lot of people are working very, very hard to combat and mitigate the damage that COVID-19 has caused upon us.
Man, I love your story, man. You came up in a single parent household. Your mom raised 5 kids, right? You're the oldest of 5.
That's right.
You hustled, as you mentioned. It's that spirit, man. It really, we joke about it a lot on this show and with friends that, the city, we have this spirit that embodies, that spirit that we all embody. And it's that hustle, that grind that is built on immigrants. It's built on that grind that we are going to provide better for the next generation. And you truly embody that, man.
And likewise to you, man. So I know you're coming through a tough time the last couple of weeks, I know, but I just want to give you a shout out to, keeping your spirits up. I want you to keep your chin up, because we get knocked down, but it's not really, it's really the response to getting knocked down. And I just want to, give you a shout out and, keep your chin up, man, and you'll persevere.
Dude, thank you, man. I've just been on my grind. It's awesome. This was the kick, you need it sometimes that, hey, you lose your job, whatever the circumstances, you figure out other things, you get back on what drove you earlier and all that. So it's been fun, man. I have a book out in terms of I'm taking notes here, projects I'm working on, and launched a t-shirt. The podcast looks better, all that. So it's nice. But for you specifically, you went to law school later in life. How much later did you go?
So I got elected to the legislature 2009 and so that session 2009, January to, roughly May, June, I recently married, recently bought a home. We hadn't had any kids yet, but, got elected and then got into law school, University of Houston Law Center, let me in their school at the last minute and, spent probably 6-7 years going full time, going part time, And then ultimately, it was back and forth. But I went later in life. I was probably around 30, 31 when I finally started. And I didn't finish, to be honest with you, because once I finished law school, in my mid 30s, obviously had to take the bar. And look, I'll be frank with you guys. I didn't pass the bar the first time, and so I had to, buckle down. And it's a very humbling experience when you set yourself to doing this and you fail at it. And so I just kept getting back on the horse and, grinding again, studying hard, studying even more. And, in the meantime, you have a life. Yeah. My wife, we had 2 kids at the time. And so it was challenging, but it came out, stronger on the end because I finally obviously passed the bar. And I'm in private practice, have my own firm. So it's been great, man. I've been really blessed, with a great wife, 2 great kids. They're 6 and 9. My mom, as you mentioned, I do want to, my mom's probably not watching. I didn't tell her about this one, but, I do want to give her, a shout out because, she was 16 when she had me. And my dad came from Mexico. I love my dad. I'm not trying to knock my dad, but he made some mistakes. And when I was in, school, middle school, he got locked up, went to prison. And so, I was the oldest. And so I had to make a decision, did I want to, run with the knuckleheads in my neighborhood who were my friends, right? I'm not going to deny those guys. Those were guys I grew up with, but sometimes they were doing things that I didn't, necessarily agree with. And so football, high school football, one of my mentors, I literally talked to him to this day, but his name is Coach Kelly Silla. He was from Wisconsin, and he was recently moved down to Houston and was my football coach in junior high and high school. And he and my mom, they and a couple of my teachers they like try to, insulate me from a lot of this negativity that was going on sometimes, the drugs, the gangs and whatnot. And so my mom was always, she couldn't help me with calculus in high school. She couldn't help me with, AP physics, because I was, trying to get into college. I was doing everything I needed to do to get into college. But she was always at every football game. She was always at every track meet, track meets, they're all day events, And so I do want to give a shout out to my mom and my wife now for holding me down since, putting me through law school. So it's been a, fun ride. It's been a challenging ride. But now I have, again, I just wear different hats and I enjoy what I do. I really do.
So what were you doing before you ended up going to law school and then also running to represent your community? What were you doing before then?
So I actually was a longtime staffer. I worked for a member of Congress. His name was Gene Green. He's since retired, but he worked for him for about 7-8 years in my early 20s. And I actually got an internship while I was at U of H undergrad. It's called the Texas Legislative Internship Program. It's a program. It was sponsored by now County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, but at the time he was a state senator. He had this program, and that's why I have an affinity for professionals of color, minority communities, because but for this program that helped minority students, particularly, Black, Brown, Asian, this internship program put kids that normally wouldn't otherwise be in a program like this into a government setting, right? And so I interned at City Hall, and that's kind of where I got my start, was at City Hall in politics. And so just kind of literally, answering phones, getting fussed at by constituents because, somebody didn't pick, city didn't pick up the trash, or you had a sewer line pickup. So I was the guy answering the phone, in college, trying to fix people's problems then. And so it just I caught the bug then. And that's how I, got involved in politics. And then ultimately when it was decided, that, with my wife and I, that we were going to run for the legislature, it was kind of easy, not easy, but it was natural for us to do that because we had always been involved, in public service in many different capacities. So, and look, politics wasn't even something I thought about. Right.
Yeah, I can't. As somebody that grew up playing football, that grew up in this culture, it's something because we don't see those people that look like us in those roles, so it's hard to imagine it, right? How did you fall into it, man? Like
so this is a true story. So Commissioner Ellis, my GPA at U of H was it was kind of suspect, but I was always involved on campus. Like I was always involved in the community service projects, and so I was always hustling on something. And I worked as a work study on campus at the Center for Mexican American Studies, and I worked at La Hacienda Mexican restaurant I had like 2 or 3 jobs at U of H. And so I was doing work study, doing, trying to keep my grades up, and then, going to this Mexican restaurant on the weekends to hustle, for tips and whatnot. But I got a call from from Senator Ellis, and it was a good friend of mine. Her name is Ana Hernandez, and we both went to college. She's now my colleague in the House of Representatives. And so she says, hey, you need to do this program. You need to apply for this internship. I think you might be good. And I was like, I really don't. Politics wasn't really for me. I would wanted to go coach high school football. I mean, that's kind of what really I wanted to do was do that. And, I went and said, you know what? I'm going to kick myself if I don't apply. So I applied, and I get a call, a couple of weeks later from, Commissioner Ellis, and he says, hey, your GPA is really bad, but, you got some hustle in you. We're going to let you, into the program. And so I was like, well, I've never really done politics, right? That's not what I'm, known for. I mean, and so he goes, no, you'd be good for this. You can learn. And so, he put me in a council member named Carol Mims Galloway. She represented Acres Homes, Trinity Gardens, the Homestead area, Kashmir Gardens, Fifth Ward, Pleasantville, traditionally African-American neighborhoods. And so, she was great, the council member, she threw me out there. She knew that I would always, be kind of always eager to do extra work. And so I just was always a hustler. And, any of my bosses told me to work on a project, I would do it 110%, right? So when it came time to get jobs, right, it was always, somebody recommended me because they said, hey, well, Walle hustles, you should probably hire him, And so that's kind of how I just kind of kept going up higher and higher. And, I said, you know what, we're going to run for the legislature. And, you're competitive, right? I mean, those juices start flowing, and I ran against an incumbent in the primary. He was an 18-year incumbent, and then I literally knocked on, thousands of doors,
wow.
So through the district. And so I won with 57% in the primary, and then I didn't have a general election opponent. So I was, in essence, a rep elect in 2009. So I've been doing this, 6 terms, going on my 7th term, and so now, got a little bit more experience. And now with this role, with the Harris County Recovery Czar, Judge Lina Hidalgo, again, immigrant, what really upsets me sometimes is they underestimate her intellect and her ability to make decisions and make the right decisions, right? So taking, this hard data early before March, right? Before we really hit COVID-19 is listening to smart people and the medical professionals to say, hey, we need to do this. We need to do this fast because we need to save lives, right? And so, again, great story, young immigrant, female from Colombia, I think she grew up in the Katy area. I mean, look, I didn't know her well before she ran. And I'd been involved in politics, now 20 years. But, you got to give her credit. She decided to run and she won, and she's taken this job pretty seriously and rightfully so. It's a big, you have 5 million people that live in this county, right? We're probably 3rd, 4th largest county in the country. It's a huge undertaking. And so when she called and offered the job, and look, it's a non-paying job. It is, I'm not getting paid for what the work I'm doing for her. And so, or for the county, I'm sorry. But she said, hey, you have a particular type of skill set. You hustle, and you're always out there, and you don't do it for the glory. I don't, most of the work that we do, I'm not holding a press conference, right, to say, hey, look at me, right?
The first time I saw you speak actually in public was when she introduced you as the czar,
right.
And I'm going, wait, hold on. That can't be the same guy that follows me on Twitter and engages with my dumb sports stuff and my sports radio stuff. But that was the first time I saw you speak, and you're right. You're not doing it for the glory, and there's so much to dissect it real quickly. But let's take on Judge Lina Hidalgo real quickly.
Right.
It is so frustrating to watch people get upset because she won an election, right? She did it the same way that our president won, right? Like, hey, you won the election, and now you are in charge, and we will respect the office. It's so funny where people go, hey, respect the office, respect the office. Okay, fair. And now when it's time to return that favor to somebody that doesn't align with your views, it turns into, oh, she's underqualified, she's all this and that. It's a tough role. Every decision she's going to make, that you're going to make, it's not going to go over well with everybody, but to have the courage to make those decisions that will hopefully help out as many people, and not just the constituents in Harris County. I mean, look, what happens in Harris County impacts everybody. It impacts men, it impacts everybody, right? Because it's just, we're all so intertwined together. Those decisions will impact everyone. But to see the disrespect that she gets, man, it's exhausting, because the same people cry that, hey, you got to respect the office on a national level.
Right.
Well, now somebody that's helping your community out, or is attempting to help your community out, because there's underlying issues, whatever it is, you're not going to respect her office.
Right. And look, and quite frankly, this is where I think, she said something very telling recently, that, that she was in the business of saving lives, and we can debate, the policy, the actions later on, right, when she's up for reelection. But I thought it was telling, very, very telling, the intellect and just the wherewithal and the awareness to say, look, the politics, it's inherent in any job, right? It's inherent in any job that's, you have to also respond to a natural disaster, right? Because you got to be out in front, you got to be on shows, you got to inform the public, right? But I think it was telling when she said, look, we're into saving lives, and we can debate, the reelection when the election gets here. I thought that was, I was like, that's spot on. I was like, people underestimate her to their own peril. And again, look, the biggest controversy again was the masks, right?
Yep.
The mask is there. And look, I'm not an epidemiologist, right? But we've been on many Zoom calls with Harris Health, with Dr. Shaw and Dr. Purse with the city of Houston. The best way to care for somebody, right, is to wear a mask, right? Is to wear a mask, not because it protects you, but because it protects the public, your loved ones, because you can spread the virus being asymptomatic. What does that mean? You can spread the virus without having symptoms, right? And so when she put the order in, right, there was a $1,000 penalty. They took away the jail component of it, but people just went unfortunately went crazy. And what's also telling is that other cities that implemented the same measure without the equal force in negativity towards those folks as well, right? So the city of Laredo was the first one early in March to put a mask order in. Then you had other big municipalities that did the same, and then we do it, and it everything's she's some kind of tyrant, right? And I just we'll let that to the side, but she's making really tough decisions and listening to smart people that care about this community.
Yeah, and look, it's a tough call to make, and I get it. Emotions are high because people are losing work, their businesses, their life's work is being impacted, right? But again, when everyone takes a step back, you go, okay, so this measure is put into place to help improve the situation. It's not making it worse. We're trying to improve it, and it's not even you can wear a bandana. It's not necessarily a face mask. Just people got so up in arms about it that it's like, come on, what are we doing together as a society? Because I know it's cliche, but we really are in this together. Because if a group does not participate or doesn't follow orders, then they're going to impact other communities. Right. Again, we're all tied in this together. That was the part that didn't make sense, was people's inability to understand that this isn't an attack on your freedom. This isn't an attack on you living here. This is just a way to help make it better and get out of this. That's all we want, right? Is to get out of this.
The quicker we can get out of this, from a healthcare component, because you have to save lives first, right? Yep. We certainly have to save livelihoods. Look, I still live in the area that I grew up in, right? I have neighbors that are hurting. When you have 2 million people that have applied for unemployment insurance through the Texas Workforce Commission, there's a big problem. When you hit 14% unemployment, that's a huge problem, right? When you hit oil, double whammy here in Houston, when you hit oil at, less than $20 a barrel. There's no way that there's no way for all the subsidiary businesses that hire people in the industry, in the oil and gas industry, which, look, I have tons of family members that work in that industry, where they're truck drivers, or my brother's a union electrician. He works at a lot of industrial plants. I understand that people are hurting, but we have to save lives. We're going to try, because that in turn can help us get back to work, right? To save our livelihoods, right? And unfortunately, it's going to be very, very tough for the recovery. But I think that's what's great about Houston, great about people that live in this community, is after every disaster, right? Any one of them that we've had, we've always, come together as a community, and we've come out stronger. And look, I think it's very telling, because we're kind of on a, sports kind of, podcast with you. And, after Harvey, what the Astros did, that's why I think the cheating, putting that to the side, right? But what the Astros did, in that aftermath of that recovery, right after Harvey, I think that's why we get so emotional as fans, right? And I'm not a blind fan that just, has, blinders on, right? I understand cheating. We all understand cheating is bad. But for that time, at the time, that team gathered so much emotion and so much effort and so much love, because we were all going through that tough period, and we were all celebrating those games and, biting our nails at every pitch, right? So, again, we have to use that same, spirit to get out of this hole. And the best way we can do that is by following these medical experts, advice, wearing masks, social distancing, listening to these medical experts that know what they're talking about, right? I mean, nobody's doing this because we want to kill the economy. I mean, we certainly want people to go back to work, right? I want my family members to get back to work, but these are just tough decisions folks have to make in order to get us back to where we need to be. And the recovery is going to be long. Yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Recovery is going to be long.
Yeah, I think anybody that knows anything about what's happening, it's going to be a long recovery. And you representing one of the biggest counties in the nation as the recovery czar, what's that been like, man? Can you even put a plan together, because so much changes every single day, it seems like?
Well, so some days you're like a firefighter, right? You're putting fires out, right? You're trying to tamp down some kind of issue that's going on. And others, you're trying to plan for the long haul, right? So there's two issues that we're trying to tackle. The healthcare component, the epidemiologist, Dr. Shaw, the Harris County Department of Health, those guys are doing a phenomenal job. The staff people will make, we joke about how government is slow and inefficient, and rightfully so. But, there are a lot of people that are working, night and day to combat this virus, to help us get back online, and particularly those healthcare providers at the city and the county. And I want to give a shout out to Marvin Odom, Mayor Turner. He and I, he's a former CEO of Shell. And so I do want to acknowledge him. We're working very well together. Look, he comes from a totally different background than me, but we do have, and I've gotten to know him, and he's a great guy. And I joke with him now, like, look, man, we couldn't have been from different worlds, but we do have one thing in common, and that's that we love Houston, right? And I'm supporting, my old school Houston Earl. Yeah, I probably should be wearing a suit and tie for your show, bro. But
hey, man, the Earl is way more power. It's way more powerful.
But so to answer your question directly is meeting with Marvin Odom. He is the city's counterpart in the recovery. And so right now we're working on several things. One would be the contact tracing, the county right now itself. So they've been doing this work before we got appointed, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say me or anybody or Marvin, we did this, right? Because the county and the city had already been working on this. So they're going to increase testing. They're going to put more testing in every, a lot of communities. They're going to increase contact tracing and put them in and hire up, 300 new hires at the county, 300 new hires at the city to be able to track folks that have the virus so we can mitigate the virus, right? So that's the healthcare component. For us, a lot of things that I'm doing is convening, stakeholders, right? So right now we have a huge food food insecurity problem. You've seen the lines on TV. The viewers have seen the lines on TV of communities, lines and lines of cars, in line to get food, right? So school's close to being done, right? And I have my two boys are in homeschool as well. Being able to coordinate all those agencies, all those nonprofits. Houston Food Bank does a great job, does a phenomenal job of the logistical component, right? Because what they do is then they raise all this money, they package all this food, and then they partner with nonprofits. It could be a church, it could be a school, and they distribute food that way, right? Well, what we're trying to figure out is how do we do that long term, right? Because kids are going to be out of school, they're not going to have food, right? Unless we work with our ISDs, and some ISDs do provide food over the summer, right? But that's to the children, right? You have whole families, right, that may or may not have food. So the goal would be, one, to combat the food insecurity issue we have in the region, right? Houston Food Bank is one of the largest food banks in the nation. And I think they are the largest food bank in the nation. And so right now is working with them and other stakeholders to kind of harness, and kind of put a plan, just like a offensive coordinator does. You're gonna plan for the next game. Well, this is a big game for us. Mm-hmm. This is human beings here. These are people that we need to be able to respond to, right? And so we're trying to put a plan together and see, okay, who's doing what, and where do we have holes, right? Where do we have weaknesses in our map, and so that we can pinpoint, okay, if there's no nonprofit, no church that is distributing food in this neighborhood, okay, let's go get another nonprofit that can come over here and help us do that, and we'll get some volunteers to distribute food, right? So it's like things like that, right? Other things would be like combating the digital divide, and one of those, and it's the healthcare component. What COVID's done is, again, shown a light on the disparities, on healthcare disparities, the inequities in healthcare and incomes, right? And so you have certain neighborhoods that don't have, certain school children that don't have internet access, right? And even if they do have spotty Wi-Fi, they might have one little Chromebook, right? But if you have one little Chromebook and you have multiple kids in the house, how are they going to do their homework, right? How have they been able to do their schoolwork during the current school year, right?
They haven't, yeah.
They haven't, right? So being able to build the infrastructure to there'll probably be some federal, state resources that could build out that infrastructure so that kids can have access to Wi-Fi, right? And then have an effort, maybe from private industry, Greater Houston Partnership, or, AT&T, Verizon, and one of our other, Comcast, one of our other, internet providers say, hey, man, can you help us out maybe with some Chromebooks, and, we can provide some funding with the infrastructure of the Wi-Fi, infrastructure. So it's even, we're thinking it more, long-term as well. And so those are the type of things that are kind of on our mind, and where the county judge has said, hey, I know there's a lot of things you can work on, but those are two things I think we need to get a handle on, is trying to get a handle on our food insecurity and the digital divide, bridging that digital divide.
So let me ask you, when you're trying to implement so many different strategies, and not only as the recovery czar, but just representing your community as well, how tough has it been with three different messages, right? You've got the national message because the president and his staff is dealing with everyone. Then you've got the state message, right, with Governor Abbott, and then you've got what's happening locally with Mayor Turner and Judge Hidalgo. How tough is that, man? Balancing all that and so much information being thrown out at people. It seems like that's been one of the big issues in all of this, is the stepping on everybody and three different messages coming out.
Yeah, I mean, your intuition is spot on, Raheel, and that's always a challenge, is being able to coordinate between your federal, state, and local partners, right? Because in a natural disaster, it's really under the Texas government code, right? And I don't want to get too into detail, but I think it's important for the viewers to understand this. Under our state, government code, it's your local county judges and your mayors that are in charge of emergency response, right? In any natural disaster, right? The state can then come in and take a much more larger role in maybe easing regulations, right? Like TCQ regs or environmental regulations, or, it can be any kind of regulation. But the office of the governor itself can also expand their powers by implementing emergency powers. And so what's happened is sometimes, as you just well stated, you can have the president say something that conflicts with what the state is saying, that then totally conflicts with what your local county judges are saying, right? And so what my message to the viewers and to folks that are watching is, listen to our local county, and officials, particularly our healthcare officials, because at the end of the day, the governor is going to do what they're going to do, and we're going to have to adjust to what the governor does, right? So whether and by all means, I'm not saying don't listen to the governor. We have to. I mean, that office is the ultimate say in some of these measures that have come down, right? So we have to follow them. We have to follow the law, and should the county has to comply, right? And so to the extent that we try to work with the governor's office, we're always trying to find that balance, right? Because in an emergency situation, you have to come together. You can't. The partisanship has to really, go to the side, right? Because you're trying to save lives and livelihoods. And so it's always a challenge to kind of coordinate those messages. But look, government, sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, is sometimes inefficient, right? But it is. We still have to have faith in those leaders, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to think about it. Use common sense, right? If I go out without a mask, do you think that it'd be highly likely that I would, the chances are that I'd be exposing myself to somebody that would have the virus, right? Particularly if somebody's not wearing a mask, right? And so folks just got to use common sense, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to as well, is having that common sense to understand, okay, I know that the president's saying X, but I know my governor is saying Y. I know my county judge is saying Z. Y and Z might be okay. They might be saying roughly the same thing. So I would just, again, even when you get conflicting info, use your intuition, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Use your intuition. So
I only have you for a couple more minutes. I have two questions left that I want to ask you about the reopening of the state and of our city.
right.
We're getting a lot of love nationally. People are saying, I want to move here to Texas and all this. But with that being said, gyms open up on Monday, and retail businesses are slowly getting back into it. Restaurants are still at a 25% capacity rate. Do you think we're moving too fast with all of this, or is this something based on the data? It's the right move?
Well, I truth be told, what I think that we need to always listen to experts, always listen to medical experts, and I'll be first to say that I think that we probably don't need to move too fast, to be honest with you, because what you don't want to do is expose people to the virus and then have a second shutdown, right? And I think that would be the public will then, I think, be very hard pressed to, implement, follow the guidelines again. I think it would be much more difficult to do that. So I think we need to continue to methodically open because we do need to get people back into work, but in a safe way. But I would say that we probably need to slow down a little bit, and that's just me talking, not as czar, but that's just me talking. And so, but look, we're going to work with the governor's office. The county judge has stated before she wants to work with the governor's office. We want to do this in a methodical way, right? But at the end of the day, we have to comply with what the state does, and we will do that to the extent that it protects people's lives.
On the sports level, let's talk about this. Have you been in touch with the leagues or local sports teams, the Rockets, Texans, Astros, about what their future is going to look like? I know the Rockets are going to get back into the gym here pretty soon. Any kind of discussion or any kind of message that you can pass along what the future of sports is going to look like here for our city?
I think, truth be told, that question there would probably be above my pay grade. So,
yeah.
That'd be probably beyond my role. That's still again, up to the governor, because they're going to implement
Sure.
whatever measures they're going to implement, particularly on sporting events. I think that right now they have, for some sporting events, you're going to have less than 4 or something like that. So
Yeah.
once you start adding people, that's a whole other, that decision, I promise you, will not be made by me. So
Maybe
so,
pass the word up. Like, hey, we could really use sports right now, man. Because you're right. Like during the recovery of Hurricane Harvey, which by the way, now you've gone through how many natural disasters? Because was Ike was a year before you were elected, right? 2008.
so the first
No,
natural
yeah.
disaster was, I was a staffer with Tropical Storm Allison.
Okay.
And so my job at the time was to go, translate the FEMA flyer that my boss wanted to hand out, and he wanted us to go to neighborhoods and give out the flyer. And so that was like my first job, in Congress, was going with Gene Green, knocking on doors, saying, hey, and we were visiting homes that had 10 feet of water in there, over in that Songwood, kind of I-10 and Federal area. And so we were in those neighborhoods just passing flyers out, and, just seeing the devastation, right? People's, lives and livelihoods literally dumped out, on the curb. It was
That was the craziest flood. Remember 59? That was I was
Oh
a
yeah.
kid, so I was
Yeah.
that was 94,
No,
95.
that was like about 2000, 2001, somewhere around there.
2001. Oh wow, was that? Or
Yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah.
it's all a blur. But yeah, I remember seeing 59 underwater, and I was like, "How's that possible?"
Yeah.
Like, there's no. Did the ocean, like, was it the ocean that came? I was so confused.
Yeah.
And then it seems like ever since then, man, the flooding has been
Yeah.
crazy. So you had that. You had Ike as well.
Ike, you had Rita, you had Katrina, you had the
Man,
Memorial Day floods, the Tax Day floods, obviously Harvey,
yep.
and then Imelda, and so we've gone through a lot as a
Yeah,
region.
and
So
we've rebuilt a lot, and
we've built, yeah,
that's the spirit of the city, is that we're gonna rebuild. We have that spirit in us, no matter what happens. And it's a wild time, man. Thank you for everything you do for the community and for representing not only your community but all of us, man. That people of color, we need more representation, and it's
absolutely.
not about us. It's not about me or you. It's about the next generation when they see those faces that, hey, because I tell the story all the time. Like growing up, who was I looking up to, right? And nobody looked like me. And
Right.
this is about now being a first generation immigrant, that we want to lay down the groundwork where people look up and go, man, why can't I be in politics like Representative Walle? Why can't I be in sports or journalism like Raheel? So this is what it's about, man. And you've
Absolutely.
done such a great job, and it's an honor to have you on the show, man. Where can people follow you so they can keep in touch with you, and also get your sizzling hot sports opinions as well?
So I'm a huge sports fan, right? I'm Houston. The Oilers were my team. Astros, Jose Cruz and that crew. That was, Alan Ashby. I mean, those were the days, and obviously Warren Moon and all those teams. And so, but to answer your question, it's at Rep Walle is my Twitter account. I'm still getting, the TikTok. I haven't gotten to the TikTok yet, right?
Nah, you don't need to.
But
I'd say this, like, all the good TikToks always make it to Twitter, so we're not missing any. We're getting the best of the best. Why are we gonna go
yeah,
watch all the bad stuff on there? Man, thank you so much again for joining me. A lot of great information here. It's gonna be interesting to watch the next couple of months, but we
right.
this with people like you that are helping out and doing this, and Mayor Turner and so many other people, Judge Hidalgo. Better times are coming. Everyone just stick in this together, and just wear a damn mask. Okay, I'll say, just wear the mask, guys. It'll be
Please,
fine. It will be fine.
you rather wear a mask than a sheet over your head.
That's true, man.
So
Amen to that. Representative Walle, thank you so much for
thank
joining me,
you.
man. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you again on this podcast. All right.
Absolutely, man. Take
There
care,
you
bro.
go. There he is, Texas State Representative Armando Walle. And we will get this going. We have Kru Bob coming up as well on this podcast, man. It's going to be fun to talk to him as well about what it was like being at UFC Fight Night on Wednesday night. He was in the corner of Ike Villanueva, who is a local Houston fighter. And we know everything that's happened with the UFC being one of the few leagues out there that are going, hey, we're good. Let's try this out. Let's be the first to try this out and see what we can learn. With the testing, with everything that's going on, can we handle this the right way, even without fans? And the numbers have been great for the UFC, but we'll get information from Kru Bob about what is happening, what it was like to be there. And I'm just checking on him for those of you that are watching on Facebook and on Periscope. Thank you so much for watching. He's going to be joining us here in a few minutes. So this gives me some time to recap some stuff that we are working on. First of all, guys, it's been 1 week and you guys have supported me so much. And I truly appreciate that, man. The numbers have been awesome. You guys have gone above and beyond to show me the love and show me everything that just made my week so much easier. The t-shirts, as I mentioned, you can see it on the bottom here, or click on the link in the bio of this episode. But the Spicy Boys summer t-shirts are available, teespring.com/Raheel Show. It comes in a premium quality shirt, 100% cotton, long sleeve, women's shirt as well for all my spicy girls, but it still says Spicy Boy on it. So I'm sorry. I don't think I'm going to make Spicy Girl t-shirts just yet. I feel like that's a whole different category that I'm not ready to enter, a Spicy Girl category, but you can buy that. And of course, the one that I love, my tank top. I love my tank tops, and we do have a Spicy Boy summer tank top available right now, and use promo code SPICY at checkout until Sunday. I will hook you up. You can either use Spicy or Flash, either one. You'll see both promo codes floating around. I'm just trying to work with the provider and get the best deals out there for you guys. I'm not making much on them. I just want to get these t-shirts out. I want to try this out, and you guys are loving them. So thank you so much. Also, Venmo donations. If you want to donate $1 an episode, go for it. It's not a big deal if you don't. I just love doing this. So thank you for listening. Kru Bob is going to be joining us. So we'll do that. And also content news. Okay. So you probably saw in iTunes, if you're using an Apple product, which most of you are, you saw that the episodes have updated. I had an issue there, but all the episodes are updated. I will be doing a lot of work with David Nuno as well. So I will be uploading those as a special edition podcast. If you want to listen to those, they're going to be more sports related. So we will be doing that. And then, of course, if you're subscribing on Facebook, just like the page. On Instagram, same thing, Raheel doing things on both of those. You will find me. And then on Twitter, at @the_Raheel. I have all the links, everything on all the social media platforms. So I truly appreciate all of the support, and we'll get this going. Also, we're trying out a new thing that I want everyone to try out as well on their social media. You can even do this on a text message. Text somebody. Keep this thread going. I was reading a book earlier in the week, and I came across a quote about an artist who would just take time every day to talk about what was the best part of my day. It's something so simple, and I think we forget to do that. And we might do it internally, but I found that just in one day, putting it out there, you end up becoming more grateful for everything, right? No matter what the situation is like. And it's tough right now. I get it for everybody. It's hard, man. But we still need to be grateful for what we have. So I'm trying a new mental health practice, and I'm doing it on social media because I want other people to see it as well and follow along and do their own thread. But all you're doing every night, you're just going to hashtag best part of my day. That's it. Best part of the day. And you just put whatever it is. For me, it was teaching my daughter how to ride a bike, and it's frustrating, but to see her finally get a little bit, that was the best part of the day. So it's something as simple as that, and you can get it going on your own social media, or if you want to do it privately on a text message with a friend, whatever it may be, you can do that as well. So we will get, we'll practice a little bit mental health here. We're going to get things going. This is more than just a podcast. I want you guys to be a part of this, and we're all going to improve together as well. All right, so Kru Bob is going to be joining us. I'm going to check, see if he's good. He was going to boom. All right. Yep. Put Kru Bob. All right, he's in the waiting room, and he will join me. I'm just wasting a little time, and he is going to enter, and we will be good to go. I've got some questions here on Facebook, by the way. If you want to watch live, let me go ahead and start answering some of these questions. David Whitlock says, the hair is looking great, Heezy. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate that. We got you saw that Arizona is open to return to sports on Saturday. Yeah, look, everyone's going to be trying this out. Everyone's going to be getting this going. It's going to take baby steps, but we will make this work. And joining me now is somebody that actually was part of opening sports back up. He was at UFC Fight Night on Wednesday. Man, a tough loss, but a good friend of mine and just a legend here in the city. Kru Bob Perez is here, co-owner of Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai. He's also a UFC coach. I mean, you've represented some of the biggest names here out of the city. Kru Bob, how you doing, man?
Good, buddy. How are you? Good to see you.
Man, likewise. Everything going good. Look at you. I love your background. Look at you. You are truly about that life. Look at this. You got all your memorabilia up. I love it.
Yeah, man. Coming here all the time and just kind of in awe of everything that we've done over the years. It's pretty awesome. This was actually my 51st UFC corner. I mean, they're coaches with like triple that, but it's pretty awesome.
So this one was the strangest one, obviously, right? Because of everything that's happening. Ike found out he was almost like a standby fighter that, hey, we need you. Let's go. What was it like for those of you that don't know? The UFC, they're in Jacksonville. They're doing their fights, but everything is done with proper testing, no audience. I mean, it's like you're in a quarantine pretty much. What was that whole experience like for you, Kru Bob?
Well, Ike did take it on a 6 days notice, fought out of his weight class against a friend of ours, Chase Sherman, who's a stud. Unfortunately, got the loss. Like you said, we got stopped in the second, but super proud of Big Ike for stepping up. And next fight, maybe August at 205. So that being 205 pounds. That being said, the UFC did an absolutely amazing job protecting all of their staff, fighters, coaches, just everyone involved. The hotel itself was completely booked solely for UFC fighters, coaches, and staff. Our temperatures were checked daily. We were tested for the COVID antibody and COVID-19 on arrival. It was amazing. Security was like crazy, but being in that arena, I've never experienced anything like that before. Massive arena. It was kind of eerie. It was really creepy. I think a lot of times fighters, even myself as a coach, will feed off that energy of the crowd. DC was like right behind us commentating. You could hear everything. But the sound of the strikes, and we were talking two big men in there slinging, it was amazing, but great experience overall.
So so you get there, you get off the plane, you get picked up, you get to the hotel. Did the first thing you do, was it the COVID-19 antibody and the COVID-19 test? What was it like?
As soon as we got there, driver comes and picks you up. And there really was not a lot of admin stuff that we did. Generally, when you get there, they'll check fighters' weight and, paperwork and stuff. That was very minimal. Essentially, we were asked to go to our rooms until they were ready for, the medical crew or medical staff to start testing everyone. And then it was just like clockwork. But until then, we were in masks and gloves and everything, just kind of in our rooms.
Okay, so you finally get there, you get your testing done, and we've seen so many of these videos, Kru, about how, it's just so intrusive of a test, right? It goes up the nostril. You got yours done, so tell me, what did that feel like, man?
Man, it was really bad, actually. Yeah, and I knew this going in. I actually even had posted about it. My nose has been broken a lot, so I had a feeling they would have issues. So the nurse asked, which nostril's better. I'm like, I don't know. Said, give me 5 seconds. So she went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 seconds. She's like, I can't get it. Went through the other side. Literally feels like they're poking your brain. And they didn't use like a swab. It was almost syringe-like, this really skinny tube. And then so it's not just going in. It goes in. And then they kind of swirl it around. Arlovsky was like right after me, Andre, and man, his nose is it's mush, man. That poor guy, and he screamed, man. Like it really hurts. I mean, I think if you've had nose damage, it hurts. Otherwise, it's kind of uncomfortable, but it sucked.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. With all the fighters, with all the coaches that have a background in mixed martial arts and Muay Thai for you, I didn't even think about all the damage that you guys have taken, what it must have felt like trying to get that syringe-like device up there.
No, absolutely, man. It was terrible, but it is a necessity. And then daily after that, they would basically scan our temperature, with the gun, and then change our the color of our band so everybody knew, hey, this guy's clear to be here.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, every
So,
day.
did you guys come across anybody that did test positive or was taken out because of
Man,
COVID-19?
no, fortunately, man, everybody stayed, healthy and nobody tested positive. Jacare had tested positive, like I guess a day or two before that, but man, and they actually hired another, testing facility that could get results back. I mean, quick. My antibody test back, I got, within a matter of minutes, and then within a few hours, we were, being notified of our COVID results.
Did you have any of the antibody?
No. I was kind of hoping I did, but no.
Yeah. So you get there, and the energy, as you mentioned, as somebody that cornered so many fights, has been part of so many big fights, you felt the highs, you felt the lows.
Mhm.
What was the energy like when you get to the event on Wednesday night, and then when Ike finally makes his way out?
Mhm.
What was that experience like for you, cornering and getting a guy ready for a fight?
Well, man, like I said, we literally had 6 days to prepare. So, as long as we could get his lungs good, that was our biggest issue, and that was fine. As far as pre-fight UFC jitters for Big Ike, initially in the locker room, and when I did a shakeout early that morning, he was really nervous, and then I kind of blew his lungs out backstage, and kind of like to help him, calm down, and that was great. He went in there just kind of stone faced. Was really relaxed, but that eeriness, like I said, that energy that you're talking about, it wasn't there, man. Generally, like when Big Derek goes out, man, and he's playing his music and the crowd's going nuts, like Lauren Murphy, like it's just amazing. And this was just dead silent. So you have the walkout music. It was just really weird. That energy can feed the fighter in a positive or negative way, kind of make them even more nervous or really fuel them to fight harder. But like I said, man, it's kind of like apocalyptic. It was just really, really weird. But the plus is, fighters can hear everything the corners are saying. They can even hear the commentators. So if DC's saying, well, so and so's getting cracked with this, whatever, hopefully they can kind of hear that and make an adjustment. But we try to keep the cornering to a minimum because we don't want opposing corner to hear too much, and on the flip side to be reciprocated, they don't want us to hear what they're saying.
Man, that's been one of the cool things to watch, not only Fight Night but also watch 249. To hear to hear the breathing. A lot of people aren't, like a lot of people don't train, so they don't get the luxury of being there. When you're training at a gym, you hear those noises. You hear exactly how powerful a kick can be against the bag, and you hear certain breathing techniques and breathing when you're rolling with somebody. So a lot of people don't get that luxury. This has got to be so cool, and I'm sure fans appreciate everything that not only your fighters do, but you as well. Just to hear how hard this is, just to finally hear the breathing. I think that's one thing that's lost in this is the breathing. Like you can hear these deep breaths and realizing when somebody's on top of you, like your breathing changes. Guys practice this. This is so good for the fight game that fans are now finally starting to hear these things that we've heard before training, but not everyone trains.
Man, I think, you're exactly right. We've had this conversation a couple of times after, the fight. I think it's going to be really good for fans to see what these men and women go through. And especially the big boys. It doesn't matter if they fight at 115 or 205 or heavy. Man, those hits on those 4-ounce gloves are just crazy. So I would hope the fans would get a little more, maybe a little appreciation or respect for what these men and women do. I think a lot of people with fighting, oh, I can do that. Man, you probably can't. These guys, that's all they do. And they're the best in the world at it. And to see them go through what they go through every day, for me, it was nothing new, but for the casual fan or the fan, absolutely, they need to hear this. They need to hear the breathing. They need to hear the gasping sometimes for air, the grunts, the cracks, everything, to truly appreciate what they go through.
When I first started training with our good friend Richard, he one time gave me a kick on the back of my hamstring so bad. Like I was, like you get in the gym and I'm good. I've got good cardio, good training, all that. Like I'm so excited to be there. And
Yeah.
then once you start getting comfortable with it, you go, man, should I take an amateur fight? Like should I go to a smoker? Should I just
Yeah.
try this out? And then the first time where he connected, and he had shin guards on, okay?
Yeah.
He connected so hard on the back of my hamstring. That noise, I'll never forget it. That noise, Kru, it was the noise of Raheel, you're not built for this, buddy. So don't do it.
Well, man, I respect you for getting cracked, man. That's awesome. A lot of people won't do that, but no,
Dude.
you're right. People think, that I played baseball at a fairly high level, but at no point in time would I ever think I could go hang with the Astros. With fighting, it seems to be different. And I think people I can do that. Man, these men and women are special. They're different. They were put on this earth to compete, especially at this level. They're amazing, man. Amazing. But yeah, you're right, man. It's definitely not for everybody.
But man, when you connect with something, or even if you're just hitting mitts or you're hitting the bag, man, and you just make that 1-2 sound perfect, and like you get direction, and you go, hey, look, man, turn that hip just a little bit more, and the sound
Absolutely.
of it differently, man.
Absolutely.
That's the best part about fighting, is that when
Sure.
it's perfect and it works out. You brought up something very interesting, that with the fighters, like they are pro athletes. I think people forget this at times. They like LeBron James. He was put on this planet to play basketball.
Absolutely.
Derek Lewis was put on this planet for the dopest memes, and then of course to fight as well.
It's a bunch of people. Yeah, that's right.
It's just his meme game is second to none.
It is.
But for you as a coach, and you coming across so many fighters, when do you know that, like, okay, this guy is something special, or he can be special? When do you realize that, coming across so many fighters that you train?
I mean, it's kind of weird. There's no like set formula for it. I've had people that, took a really long time to develop their fundamentals, or even, get anything, basic down. They wind up competing even at a lower level, and you really wouldn't expect them, to do that. It's amazing. But then you have some that, hey, coach, I'm going to be a champion. You're like, okay, well, let's see. And the moment they put on gloves, or you see it in their eyes, you see it in their heart, and it's something that, like I said, very few have. But every fighter that I've had, man, I don't think a lot of them actually even like fighting. They like to compete, and they like to test themselves and scare themselves and get over that fear. So I think the majority of my fighters, it's just kind of like, I want to test myself. It's the whole man versus man thing. But there are some you just know right away, and there's some you would never expect it, but maybe their work ethic, or just the way they just perform their daily training helps get them to a fight. But the special ones like Derek, he's just, Derek's a freak. He really, really is. But he was made to fight for sure.
Let's talk about Ike real quickly, because locally, we all know Ike, and he's such an awesome dude, and his story's phenomenal, just always on the grind. And he wanted his shot. He just wanted something, and Mick told him, I was reading a story that he's like, look, I don't have anything right now, but just be ready. Just be ready, right? To have a guy like that, it's so much harder, because when you have a fight camp, there's a carrot at the end, right? Like, hey, I'm going to get this, and I know I'm fighting on June 10th, and this is it. But to constantly be training for something that might never show up, that to me is a scary fighter, man. That's a dude that has the will and the grind. How special has it been training Ike?
Man, Ike and I go back to 2005. That's the first time I ever trained him. And then throughout the years, stuff happens, but he's fought for 14 years. He had taken a little time off, and, he beat some UFC vets coming up. And it's just kind of like, you don't think you'll ever get that call during this, like, this whole, pandemic. I think now a lot of fighters could possibly get that opportunity. And, if they call you, you don't say no, man, period. It was out of his weight class, 6 days. He's like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. And he was so excited. And even after the loss, man, we're having some beers, and we're with his opponent. He was so nice. And, Ike's just like, Bob, I'm just so happy to be here. As corny or as cliche as that sounds, this is living a dream, and he's going to get another opportunity. And, man, he's a 1%er, man. He's a 1%er. A lot of people don't get this break.
Man, that's so awesome to hear. I'm so happy for him, for you as well, man, to be part of that journey with him. That's so cool. I want to, and I'm not trying to trap you with this question or
Mhm.
anything, but with the fight night, do you think they should have gone on and done the event or anything like that? Like, you're good with it? You didn't
Man,
feel that risk or anything like that?
I don't know if you remember, I have a science background,
Yep.
in biochem, and I think I've overthought this a little too much, got maybe a little too paranoid. And we've been very safe, my family and I, but getting out of the house, being able to work again, being able to travel again, even in a minimal capacity, man, it was amazing. Dana's gotten a lot of love for this, gotten a lot of hate for this. But man, I tell you, like, experience it firsthand. I thought he and his staff, they did an amazing job. And, we're looking to have at least 4 or 5 more UFC fights, within the next few months, with some of our fighters at the gym, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know where it'll be, but I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Are you excited about gyms opening up here in
Oh,
Texas?
man, absolutely. We open up on Monday, 25% capacity. We're going to be checking, temperatures, every precaution you can think of.
Mhm.
But just to get back to that sense of normalcy again, and just kind of our day-to-day thing, you miss your teammates, your students, your friends. They're really a family. So the ability for everybody to start slowly but surely getting back to normal is an amazing thing.
Man, I can't wait. Everything else been good with you, man? Health wise, you're all good. I'm so
Man,
pumped for you, man. Like, I just
thank
love
you.
seeing your updates, and you're one of the nicest guys. Not in the fight game, just in general, man. I love everything you're doing, but everything good with you?
Thank you, man. Everything's great, man. We're very blessed. We're healthy. We have everything we possibly need. During this pandemic, my wife and I were talking about maybe like some of our younger fighters or students or the elderly, and how tough this could be for just so many people right now. It's a really bad thing, and we're very blessed to be in the position that we're in.
All right, man. Well, best of luck. You got a lot of fights coming up here.
Yes,
I can't wait to watch them all, man. Best of luck. Continued success to you. And
thank you.
Instagram, that's the best place for people to find you.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, but not really. I'm not on Snapchat. I'm not on Twitter. So Instagram at Kru Bob Perez.
There you go. And make sure you get Bob's stash as well. All right.
Yeah, Bob Stash. Bob's underscore stash CBD
Absolutely.
gummies.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, Kru Bob, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Best of luck and good luck with the reopening of the gyms. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much, man. Anytime. You take care, brother.
All right, thank you. There he
All right,
is,
man.
Kru Bob Perez, joining us, and just a phenomenal guy. Thank you for listening to the Raheel Show podcast. Make sure you subscribe if you have just come across this for whatever reason. Rate the podcast, and of course, review and send it to your friends. Send it to your friends. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this bad boy. Thank you for following me on all the channels. Thank you for a great week of content. I'll be back with some special edition, a weekend podcast as well. As always, you will find it in your podcast app or find it on anchor.fm. Make sure you get your t-shirts, Spicy Boy t-shirts, now available at teespring.com/Raheel Show. And on Instagram, I'm giving one away for free. So just go to Instagram, look up Raheel doing things. All the links, all the guest stuff is in the bio of this episode. I will talk to you guys next time.